Yes.
Good night, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you've had a great week so far. And I hope you get something out of tonight's message. It's nothing extravagant, it's nothing you haven't heard before. It's just a simple reminder. So, yeah. Pretty much a couple weeks ago, Steve and I were talking, and we realized that I never shared about my last year in Australia since I came back home for good. I'd shared every time I'd come home before that, but yeah, I'd shared nothing since I've been back home for good. So I'm gonna speak about my last year a little bit, or I'm gonna be jumping in between 2016 and 2018. So I hope you guys can follow along. If I'm unclear, just raise your hand and I'll try to be more clearer. So yeah, and I'll try not to get into too much detail because for some reason when I'm sharing stories or I'm talking about something, I give every single detail possible and I feel like I bore people sometimes. So I'm gonna try and just share what is necessary. So let's rewind to 2016. I've come back home now. I did my DTS and I did my first two schools that I staffed. I staffed 15 and 16 schools. And I came home and I knew I was already going back for another 2-year commitment to co-school lead with my friend Nate, who was also the leader of the 16 school. So I was coming alongside him and I was going back to Australia to co-school lead the 17 and 18 schools with him. I needed a new visa, so coming home, I knew that it was going to take a bit of time, go through another process. I'd been through it twice before, but it is a different visa at this time, so you never know, right? I was hoping to be home for a month and a half, 2 months max. And I got home mid-September, so I was hoping to leave mid-November at the latest. If I had my way, frankly, I would have just stayed here a month and I would have gone back to Australia, not because I didn't like being in Barbados. If you know me, I'm gently born, 100%. I love being from this little rock. However, I was stepping into something new, new role, new responsibility. I had to learn the ropes of it. I had to get training. And Nate was, even though he was still back in Australia, he was doing the Bible Core course, or because we love acronyms in YWAM, what we call the BCC. So he was doing that, and if you don't know what that is, it's a very intense, bang, 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 go, 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 3 months, 12 weeks of pure intensive Bible study. And it's a lot of hard work, but you do get a lot of it out of the end. So, but he was doing that, so he didn't have a lot of time. Thankfully, they put his work duties as doing some school leaving stuff, so he was still able to do a few things, but he didn't have a whole bunch of time to keep preparing for our upcoming school in February of 17. So that was another reason I wanted to get back, not just because I was excited for what I was stepping into, but because he was busy doing other things and I needed to get back to, or I thought I needed to get back to be trained, to learn the ropes and get things going. Do you think I got that visa when I wanted to? Absolutely not. So instead of leaving beginning to mid of November, which is what I wanted, it came in a month later than I expected, and there was some police certificate of character things that had to do with it, because the one I had applied for the previous visa, not because I have a criminal record or anything, but the one I had used for my previous visa had, I guess, had expired to them, so I had to get a new one. So that took some time as well. And so yeah, I left here mid-December 16, got back mid-December 16, and that was that. I was back, I was happy to be back, and I started going right away pretty much. Fast forward, I forgot to give you my brief overview of 2018. So kind of what I did for 2018 was I showed the first half. Like I said, I schooled at the 18 school. I really didn't need to say that. I think you guys got that already. Anyway, so I don't need to say anything about 17. I came home in December for Jack and Linda's wedding for a month. Got back to Australia, literally New Year's Day of 2018, and we were on the verge of cancelling our DTS, honestly. We only had 3 students at the time, and because they were all internationals, we needed to make a decision fast of if we're going ahead with this or not, seeing as we needed to tell them don't come or come. So thankfully we did have 4 Australian people lined up or that were interested, and pretty much within a week they all said yes, and they all signed up and they did the school, so we had 7 students, and that was enough to run it. Those 4 Australians came from a rough background. They were they had like the drug and alcohol addiction background, so they were, this sounds really bad, but they were those kind of people. And they were either new Christians or had a relationship with the Lord previously, but had just had backslidden and just come back. So we understood how hard, or we thought we understood how hard the school was going to be. Joke was on us, we had no idea. 2018, for me, was like 2020 for everyone else. I know this has been a rough year for most, if not everyone, but for me, 2018 was just, I've never been so emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally exhausted all at the same time in my life. I was running on empty, I was drained, and that's important to know for a little bit of the next part. Thank you. So we're in the school now, we're in the DTS, and I would say about April. I knew, because my visa was a 2-year visa and I'm well past 1 year at this point, and my commitment was a 2-year commitment. I knew both were coming to an end, not necessarily soon, but obviously at the end of the year. So I needed to start to think about what was next for me, because I didn't have any indication from the Lord that I was going to renew my commitment again and stay in Australia. I'm pretty sure at that point I felt that I was coming home, or maybe going somewhere else. I don't think I knew I thought I was staying there. So I went to one of the elders of our base, and I said, "Hey Darcy, I know this is a little bit down the road, but I just want to start thinking about it. Can I just get a clarification of when my commitment runs out? And she's like, well, you can leave after the school's over, after DTS is over. I mean, obviously you need to do the 2 weeks after with the staff and debrief and wrap up, and then whatever paperwork you have as the school leader after that. So, but yeah, I guess late August, sometime in September, you can finish your commitment. I was like, I thought I had to stick it out 2 years. She was like, yeah, I know that. Well, she said that that was mainly for, sorry, let me see. She said it's more like a 2-school commitment and not a 2-year commitment. And I knew that for general staff who are staffing schools. But I thought maybe for school years it was a bit different. So I explained that to her, and she said, oh, sorry about, I guess, the lack of clarity if we didn't explain that properly 2 years ago. I said, all right, no problem. I guess I have a decision to make. I can leave in September, I can leave in December. I'll let you guys know. She said, all right, cool. So, I don't know if it was in the same day or a couple days later or whatever. For some reason, when I'm on a walk, whether it's actually on a walk with the Lord or if I'm just going somewhere, me and walks is one of the times I hear the Lord the best and the most and the clearest. So I'm just walking and I'm like, all right, Dad, I'm pretty sure we're done with Australia for now at least. Am I renewing my commitment or am I heading home? What do you say? I said, yeah, no, you're leaving. Your time's over. I was like, oh, okay. So, am I leaving in September or am I leaving in December? December. I got the answers literally pretty fast, so I was like, okay, and I just put that in my back pocket. Didn't need to think about it for a little while, and I just put it in my back pocket, and that was that for then. So I know I'm coming back home, or at least my commitment with Australia around Brisbane is done. I'm leaving in December. Fast forward 4 to 6 weeks, and it's about a week or two before the DTSs are going on outreach. And so with the DTS, you have a new subject. In the lecture phase, you have a new subject every week. And this week was the Bible. And one of the ladies on base was teaching it because she had already done a BCC. She actually did a traveling BCC where she got to go to Israel and Turkey and literally visit the places in the Bible. So it was really cool. Heck of a lot more expensive, but really cool nonetheless. And so she's teaching us, she's speaking on the Bible for this week, and something begins to stir. And I'm not necessarily liking it. So as the week continues, I feel like getting stronger and stronger, and by the end of it, I'm pretty sure God is asking me to do the BCC that's starting in September. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Not that I have anything against the Bible, of course I love it. But I was already running on empty, and even if I was to get a couple of weeks holiday, I wouldn't start at maximum energy, and to do a school like that, you can't be tired going into it. As well as academic-wise, I'm not the quickest when doing my work. I'm not stupid, even though sometimes I struggle with that insecurity. But it's once I get something, once I understand something, it doesn't take me long. I usually get my work right, but it's to get the work done. I get distracted easily. I don't focus very well, and I'm just naturally slow when it comes to doing things like that. And a few other reasons. So pretty much all my weaknesses were all the reasons why someone should not do this school. That's why I didn't necessarily just had nothing to do against the Bible, of course. I just I wasn't feeling it in that time or in general. I procrastinate making the decision until my mother calls me and says, because I told my parents that I was thinking about it, and she's like, we need to budget for the rest of the year. We need to know what we're going to spend for the rest of the year. So can you make a decision? I know you don't necessarily want to do it. I know you're procrastinating, but I need to know. It's like, all right, fair enough. So, of course, pray about it. What do you think? I say yes. I'm doing the BCC, and I'm like, God, you got to show up, because I'm running on empty here. I'm not getting much time off between leaving the school and doing this BCC. I have a million reasons why I shouldn't do it, and I don't want to do it. But you gotta show up. You gotta. If you're not doing this with me, I'm not doing it. You reassured me, of course, and so in September I did the school. Great school. I'm so glad I did it, of course. Learned a lot. God showed up. Had some experiences with the Lord. Had fun because some of my friends were doing it with me, so we had a really fun and great class. And I'm really, really happy, really glad that I did it. Let's rewind. Before we rewind. The school, however, was September to December. Now let's rewind to 2016, when I wanted to leave in November. And if I left in November, because it's a 2-year visa, my visa would have run out in November 2018. So, a few things would have happened. One, at the very best, I would have had to find some way to extend my visa or get another visa or something, which would have been more money, which would have been more stress, and God knows I didn't need that in that year, and would have been more confusion, or I would have been able to do the school and just miss the last month, which is a whole third of it, so I wouldn't have been able to finish, or knowing that my visa runs out in November, the school leader would not have let me do the school at all. So, I mean, I don't know, but I'm assuming that those are the possibilities that would have happened if I got my butt to Australia in 2016 when I wanted to, when I thought I needed to, when I thought I should have been there. But God clearly had a different plan for me. 2 years in advance, something I did not see coming in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So yeah, pretty much that's what I guess the lesson out of today. We plan what we want to plan, but God has His ideas at the end of the day. So I'm going to steal the verse that Dave and Caroline used for when updating the cell leaders about Drew this week. As most of you, or all of you maybe, would know, how Drew had his challenges going to Spain and ended up not going to Spain, but just going straight to Bahamas at the tail end of last week. So Proverbs 19:21, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. And yeah, so what I wanted wasn't even bad. What I wanted wasn't even necessarily wrong. What I wanted was what I thought needed to happen, or what should have happened in my mind. But God had a different idea 2 years prior. And things happen, and in 2016, when I was stuck here, I was frustrated. I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely frustrated. I wouldn't say I was angry with the Lord, but I was definitely frustrated as I just wanted to get back to Australia. As it also was my second home, you know. So no, that's not terrible.
Oh, me zoom in here, look.
Lost my track. So yeah, we don't always see the reason why God does things. Sometimes we find out a couple of days or weeks or months later. I ended up finding out a couple. Well, it's not that I went back to Australia saying, "Oh God, why did you postpone my visa for a year?" Once I got back, I was just like, "Okay, let's go." But I got my answer, I guess you could say, 2 years later. And sometimes people don't get an answer. It's okay, because He's still King. He's still the one sitting on the throne. He's still God. He's still Lord of Lords, King of Kings. He knows what He's doing. And so yeah, especially I guess in this year, for all of us, when there's so much uncertainty, when our PMs and our presidents have no idea what the next month or the next year is going to be like. They can take a wild guess, but at the end of the day, they don't know. The Queen doesn't know. Nobody knows. Only the Lord. So trust Him, and yeah, I guess that's it.
No.
Okay.
I think Spain, I heard on the news this morning, is completely locked down again. They have completely locked down Spain.
Yeah, I think that was the problem with Drew.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Jay can give a better update than me, but I'm pretty sure it was he didn't have the right documents, or it was just locked down, so they